Before we start, just a reminder, this is not a shear, this is Chumash Exploration. Okay, so no promises. And the other thing I was going to say, also important to remember, this is a successor to last year's Chumash methodology shear. And so I do have a methodology. We got the wow face there. We have two agendas today. We have a general question with some sub questions which we'll come up with, and then a methodology curiosity. I don't even know if it's just like a happenstance thing or what, but we'll see. Okay, so we're focusing only on 5 pesukim. Okay, and so I figure we might as well just read and translate it and type the translation out like we do in Mishlei because it's short enough. So the context is Yaakov and his other sons come to, all right, Yaakov is informed that Yosef is still alive and he's ruling over Mitzrayim. He doesn't believe them. Then he sees the wagons. Then he comes. That's the whole thing. That was the other candidate I was going to give Shir on. Yeah.
When we were doing Shai last night, I asked a question on that and I actually did a little bit of research in the Abrabnel today.
That's one of my pet sugyas. So let me know if you come up with anything. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So then they come to Mitzrayim, and then we get to this part. So Vayavei Yosef es Yaakov aviv, Vayamidehu lifnei Paroh, Vayivarach Yaakov es Paroh. So are we translating that?
And Yosef came.
Vayavei.
I'm sorry.
He brought
Yaakov his father, and he stood him before Paroh.
Yep.
And Yaakov blessed Paroh.
And Yaakov blessed Paroh. Yeah, I can't help but picture when he says, and he stood before Paroh, picking him up like a rag doll and just plopping him down. Or like a claw, yeah, right. Okay. I assume Vayamideo means like he presented him, right? Yeah. Okay. Vayomer Paroh el Yaakov, Kama Yemei Shnei Chayacha.
And Paroh said to Yaakov, how many are the days of the years of your life?
Good. Years of your life. Oh yeah, we're going to do Rashi because I know that people have probably seen the Rashi or heard the Rashi at some point. Okay. Vayomer Yaakov el Paroh Yemei Shnei Megurai Shloshim Umas Shana Ne'at Veraim Hayu Yemei Shnei Chayai V'lo Hisigu Es Yemei Shnei Chayei Avosai B'Yemei Megureihem.
All right. Okay.
This one's difficult to translate.
Yaakov said to Paroh, the days of my life of dwelling.
The days of my life. The days of my years. Of my dwelling. So I would usually translate yashav as dwell, which implies permanence, and gur is sojourning. Yeah. Okay. Right. Of sojourning, which is temporarily dwelling. Yeah. Yes. Exactly. Sojourning. Are. Shloshim Shana.
12 place. Oh, okay, yeah. Are 30 and 100 years.
Yeah.
Or as uncles would say, 130.
Yeah. As we say in America.
Yeah. Few and bad.
Yeah.
They are. Are the days of my life.
Were the days of the years of my life. Yeah. This is the part that's hard to translate.
And they are not. Sayod.
So this is from I don't know the shoresh. Lahasig is the verb form. So I would translate it. You'll tell me how our score translates. I would say attain.
I did not attain.
What does our score say?
And they have not reached.
Reached. Okay, yeah, fine. So they've not. I'm going to say attained because I think that's a better translation. Attained, and again, I'm being mockbeat here because the Mefarshim care about this. They have not attained the days of the years of the lives of my fathers. Okay.
In the days of their sojourning.
In the days of their sojourning. Okay. End quote. Okay. Vayivarach Yaakov es Paroh, vayetze milifnei Paroh.
And Yaakov blessed Paroh, and he left. And he left.
Yeah, left
from before Paroh.
Before Paroh. Okay. So let's see if you can anticipate my major question on this / I was so you're on the right track when the Mefarshim ask the same question you do in the exact same way, and this is one of the most hilarious findings. There you go. So if you had to ask one question, like, is there anything just like there are a lot of detailed questions which we'll list in a second, but like you have the main question on this?
Well, I did read the topic of the share.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's honestly the main question.
I don't even remember what I wrote.
You said like their exchange and you kind of like mentioned like also as part of it is the blessing.
Yeah.
But I would say the whole thing Yaakov's whole answer to Paroh's question. It's kind of weird.
Yes, his answer to the first question is kind of weird. I would say it's
also twofold. Meaning there's two pseudo ones, right? The first one he answers it in short. I'm sorry.
It's one long pasuk. Yeah.
So he answers it and then he like embellishes on it and kind of says something that wasn't what Paroh was asking.
Yeah, so that's definitely a contender for what the major question is.
So major question.
That's like that. I'd say that's a close second. Okay, the major question I had on this was like, what the heck is going on? Okay, and check out how the Radak phrases the question. Okay, so the Radak has actual commentary here, but he slips in towards the beginning. Ve'eni motze tam l'sipor hazeh lama nechtav. I didn't find any reason why the story is written. Okay, so the way I'm going to phrase the overarching question, then we'll list all the particulars, is what is the point of this brief? I think that was the title of the thing. Brief and bizarre event, interaction, exchange, event, because it's not just the exchange; it's also the bracketed blessings, right? Yeah. Okay. All right. So now let's list the particular question. So we had the question of,
should we go in order?
Yeah, let's go in order. Yeah. Oops, sorry, that did not work out as well as I thought. Hold on, just 1 second here. Oh, why is this not? Okay, there we go. Yeah.
Well, I guess working within 7, you would say that. Well, I guess did he bless him twice?
Yeah, right. So according to the plain pshat is
twice, right?
Yeah, right. So what's the question?
Was the blessing that happened at the beginning? Meaning, so I guess. Okay. So the other question would be: is 7 an introductory pasuk, or is it an explanation of the entire thing? And then 8, 9, and 10 are like the breakdown of that pasuk.
Okay, so I ordinarily would say that I mean, it's a good question. Yeah. No one learns it that way.
Really?
Yeah, everyone says that it was 2 blessings. Yeah, no one that I saw on all Torah. Yeah.
Because like I know that the Torah does that a lot. Like it'll say.
Yeah, right. Bereishis bara Elokim es hashamayim v'es haaretz. That's a heading.
Right.
And then the first creation, though, I mean, plain pshat was light. So that's like a heading or yeah. So let's just ask. The general question is why. Okay, is there more? Yeah, why did Yaakov bless Paroh? Okay, before and after, at the beginning and the end of this exchange, right?
Can we put that as like 2 different?
Yeah, we put 2 different questions. Yeah, why did he bless Paroh? Okay, why did he bless him twice at the beginning and at the end?
And then I guess the next one would be, why was Paroh asked again how old he is?
Before we get to that, I think there's another question also, which is what was the blessing?
Yeah.
What was the blessing, or what was the nature of the blessing? Because I mean, presumably, if the content of the blessing were important, then we would have been told, right? So we want to understand like what kind of blessing it is, but as much content as we can. Okay, fine. Right, so then we get to the weird thing, right? So
what's the question of Paroh?
So what is Paroh? What prompted Paroh's question? Okay, right? And it's just this is the thing also. Like I think there's a Ramban that says this, but that the Torah doesn't record every word in every dialogue, right? So it is possible that there are that other stuff was said here, but clearly the Torah is highlighting this as the most important thing, right? So like it's just a bizarre thing to highlight and Paroh is not very active in the story. Like, I mean, obviously he appoints Yosef to be in charge of stuff and the dream thing, but like his role here is not very prominent. It's really more of a drama about Yaakov and his kids. Okay, so what prompted Paroh's question?
And then I guess what's with the wording of Paroh's question? Are the days of the years?
Yeah.
I don't think that. Is that weird?
Let's just say, what exactly is he asking? What exactly is he asking? Why word it in such a strange way, because I think you just kama shnei chayecha. Yeah, Avi?
Yeah, I guess wouldn't like you normally ask like either how many are the years of your life or how many are the days of your life?
Yes.
and not,
Okay,
like,
right.
both?
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. Yeah. Separating the days and the years, or asking about the days and the years. Yeah. The days and the years. Yeah. And I wouldn't fault you for saying that this is just an idiom, because it does repeat it a lot, right? Yemei shnei chayecha, yemei shnei, doesn't say chayecha there. Yemei shnei chayai, yemei shnei chaye avosai. It's just a very repetitive answer, which I guess is going to be segueing into Yaakov's thing. Okay, so the main question here is like, what was Yaakov's answer, right? Yeah.
Why did you say his years were few?
Okay, yeah.
And that.
Yeah, okay, good. So let's break this down into its component parts. Okay, so why did he say his years were few? They weren't, right? His years, he ended up living.
He was 130 at the time.
Or he was 130 at the time, which is already pretty good, and he ended up living 147 years. I believe that we'll see later on. Okay, right? So and then why did he say his years were bad?
That's not necessarily the hardest.
No, but here's the thing: even if they were, why did he say this in his answer? And especially since Paroh didn't ask him, right? Okay, it's like it's just a weird.
How old are you and how's your life been?
Yeah, right. That would have been
How old are you?
yeah, right.
I
Okay,
guess how many are the days of the years of your life?
Yeah. right. What's the other weird feature of the way he characterizes the days of the years of his life?
He didn't live up to, or he didn't attain the same kind of
Okay, right. So
the same quality seemingly.
what does he mean when he says that he didn't attain? What's the wording here? That he didn't attain the days of the years of the lives of his fathers in the sojourning. We're going to be lazy and copy and paste. He didn't attain. Yeah.
Right.
But then I think before this, we have to ask, why does he characterize his years and his father's years as sojourning, right? Yeah.
What's the Hebrew word?
Migurehem, which comes from the same word as ger.
Right.
Yeah. Or gar, which is to dwell temporarily.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I guess.
And then yeah, you know what?
Is there even a question for you, or is it just?
Yeah, we can say we can move that question to the end, right? Why did he bless him at the end? Yeah. Okay, so I think that's it. We can add questions if we need to. Okay. Yeah. So do we want to try answering them first on our own?
Well, I think I'm definitely very biased by knowing some of the Rashi.
Okay.
There,
So let's just read the Rashi then. Okay. Yeah. All right. So we'll read the Rashi. Now I'm going to divide these the approaches of the Mefarshim here into 3 approaches. Okay. Pshat, midrash, and then philosophical. Okay. And I characterize the last one as philosophical because you'll see that at least 3 of the Mefarshim take what seems like a very different route. And I'm going to go ahead and spill the beans here on the methodological question I'm kind of curious about is the Rishonim don't, by and large, the Rishonim don't seem to take the philosophical approach. So is that just a coincidence, or like something bothered me about like the fact that the Rishonim are, first of all, you have the Radak. I have no idea where this is written, and the philosophical answers. No, he says other stuff to explain like to answer these little questions, but he doesn't like he doesn't really give like an explanation for why the story is there, which seems to be what he's curious about. Okay, so let's start with Rashi. Rashi is going to be a mix of pshat and midrash. Okay, as he usually is. All right, so Rashi says like this. Here, just one second here. Oh, and a disclaimer again. I'm just saying this because I feel like it's my responsibility to say this. I am not a Rashi learner. Okay, I have my reasons. I've given cheer about that last year. I'm trying to dip my toe into the Rashi pool, but this is like when you listen to Rabbi Zimmer or Rabbi Fader give a svara on Rashi, treat that as like expert and authoritative. Treat me on Rashi as I have no idea what I'm doing and I'm extremely biased against. Okay, so like we're working through learning Rashi together here. Okay, yeah. Okay, so Vayivarech Yaakov. I do know one thing about the methodology of Rashi. What's the question you're supposed to ask on every Rashi?
What is the what's the problem he's coming to solve?
Yeah, or
What's bothering Rashi?
what's bothering Rashi, right? That's I was gonna say the trademark version from Rabbi Victor Bonchek, who has really good books on Rashi, is what's bothering Rashi, right? And you have to think about it in terms of the pasuk, but specifically in terms of the Dibur HaMaskil, because Rashi does. There, another methodology point here is there are Mefarshim who don't care about Dibur HaMaskils. They'll only use Dibur HaMaskils as a way of like directing you to what they're generally like writing on. Rashi cares. So like if he quotes two words, it means it's those two words. If he quotes two words and then Vagomer, etc., then so he does care. Vayivarech Yaakov, he she'elas shalom. This is a greeting or a inquiring of well-being, probably is better than a greeting, right? Inquiring into his welfare. Kederech kol hanirim lifnei malachim leprakim, as is seen from everyone who appears before kings infrequently. So I thought this was saluder, Balaz. So I thought it was salud. Okay. Apparently there are other versions of the Old French and other Tosfos who say it's saluer, which comes from salute, which is not from salud. I thought it meant health, but it means like to wait. I just looked this up. Hold on.
What the hell? Like that, like a Hitler in a way.
Yeah, he kind of ruined that word, didn't he? Etymology of salute is to greet or pay one's respects to. Health. Oh, it does come from that. I just didn't. I think maybe I did salutation. Hold on, salutation, and it didn't take me back far enough. Yeah, so I did salutations from salutare in Latin, which means to pay one's respects to, but salute is health, welfare, greeting. Okay, right. So yeah, right. So yeah, it does check out. Right.
It said Old French over there in the etymology.
Oh yeah, salutare. No, it's Old French. Oh, salute. Salut. I don't know how to pronounce French, so I don't know if it's good. Yeah, it's good. Okay, so the question is, what's bothering Rashi?
Why is he blessing him?
So why is he blessing him, right? So that could either be okay.
Or what does it mean when it says blessed that he blessed him?
Okay, so yeah, that he is partially answering that. Yeah, I hesitated because he answers that more in full later on in the Rashi. Okay. But what was I going to say? So there are two types of questions, and I actually first heard this from Rabbi Zucker. That I don't know if this is like from a pre-existing method, but a she'ela and a kushya.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So she'ela, how would you define the difference between them?
I've been told a difference so many times. I think one is like is fact gathering, and the other is like I don't know.
Yeah. So she'ela is like a factual question.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Prompted by like missing information. Yeah. A kushya is a problem or difficulty where or a contradiction. So like. What are you having for dinner is a she'ela. Why is the sky blue is a she'ela. But if you said like, you're not having dinner, that is a kushya, or why is the sky purple, right? Then yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
I think wouldn't the like one word definitions be like an inquiry and a challenge?
Yeah, inquiry and challenge are pretty good. Yeah. Okay. I would say the only challenge is a little too narrow. I would say difficulty is the broader thing, because challenge kind of implies that you're opposing something, to me at least. So yeah, but those are good. Yeah. Okay. So is Rashi's answer to that question, or is the question that's bothering him a she'ela or a kushya here? So the way you answered it before is it was a she'ela, right? Which is like, what is he's answering this? Why did Yaakov bless Paroh, right? But could we interpret it as a kushya? Like, is there something that would actually be bothering him, like as problematic of Yaakov blessing Paroh? And I don't know if this is what I'm thinking is true, but it's based on assumptions about who Paroh was. Or what Paroh was?
A Russia.
Well, this Paroh was not a Russia.
Well, right.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So
certainly according to the pshat, I'm not even aware of midrashim that said he was a Russia.
This one, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I'm assuming he perfectly
Right. Not just partook. Well, I mean, depends on how you say it. What was his role? Yeah, I think all the Parohs were deified.
Yeah.
Right, and I think that was not just a specific period. Yeah. I think that was through and through, especially, I mean, Shibud Mitzrayim doesn't take place that much after this, but I'm pretty sure. So what would then? So if that were the case, then does that pose a problem here?
Yeah. Meaning, giving giving blessing to somebody who's seen as a deity.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know if it could be that it's almost like Mars Ayin of like you're blessing the deity.
Right. I mean, could it not be? And again, this is speculative on my part. We worship God by blessing Him. Now, obviously, our blessings of God are different than a human being's blessing of another human being. But like, we also don't have the text of the bracha, so our brachas are sheva, they're praise.
Right.
So, like, if He's praising, like, if you go up to, I don't know, if you go up to Jesus and you say shavach to Him, I mean, that's usher, like that is and whether it's halacha kavod azar for Bnei Noach, I don't know, but like at least it's philosophically problematic.
Right.
So if that is what is bothering Rashi, I think Rashi's answer does solve it, which is
it was just courtesy.
Yeah, it's protocol, right? Same thing like if you bow down to Jesus, then that is usher. But if you bow to a Japanese person in the normal way of greeting, right, or even bowing down to a king in greeting, I'm pretty sure is if you're doing like for respect for the Malchus, then that's not usher, So I think that might be what Rashi is addressing if that's a problem. Yeah. Okay. Good. See, I can pretend to learn Rashi. Yeah. I think that was okay. But not only that. So this sets us up for the midrash. Okay. So Shnei Megurai, the years of my sojournings, and again, sojourn means to dwell temporarily. Yemei Gerusai, the days of my sojourning. So he's just. I think because magur, I don't really know this. Let's look at the Al Torah here. I think magur can be from the word fear, but I don't know if. Hold on, let me just see what the shorish is here. Migurai. Sojourning. Okay, so this is the shorish of. Does not say the shorish. Okay.
You say magur.
Yeah, but that's not really a shorish though.
Like his 4 letters?
Yeah, I mean, it could be a 4-letter shorish, but I think gar or gur is the 4, but whatever. So whatever, Rashi's just defining, what's bothering Rashi here is, the first half is he's just defining what the word is, translating. But then, kol yamei hayisi gar be'eretz acherim. All my days I was a sojourner in the land of others.
Really now?
Yeah, it makes sense, right? Why? Right. So Lavan, from an early age, he was kicked out of his home because of the Esav incident, went to live with Lavan, and then went back home. Then
there's you want to say like Shechem, like when he was living like around the area. Well, actually, he says that. He said he goes to live with the
Isn't there a thing? Am I blanking on this, or isn't there a thing where it Well, hold on a second. Nava, if you just got here late, if you want to just look at the pesukim we're on here, then you can look at that while we look something else up.
The whole time my camera's
Oh, you were. Okay, sorry. I just didn't see. Yeah, I didn't. I can only see
okay.
the whole time. Okay, fine. All right. Isn't there a thing that lists all the places where Yaakov went, or am I imagining this? The Rosh.
I don't think it's a puzzle.
Hold on. Okay, either I'm really imagining things, or the Rashbam quoted this in another Wednesday night shir that we did about the Alon Bachus, about Devorah. Me Nekes. Hold on just a second. Let's see if whenever I question my memory, what do you call? I have to look it up because it bothers me too much to not look it up. On 38:8 Rashbam. Let's see. There we go. Check this out. It lists all the places that Yaakov went to. Pnuel, Sukkos, El Israel, Shalem, Yerushalmi, Luza, Beis El, Alon Bachus, Beis El Hasheni. Now these were Beis Lachem, Ephras, Migdal Eder. Okay, right. So these were a lot of places. Now, did he live in all these places? I really don't know what the time frame was there, but Yeah. Okay. Fine. So I'm not imagining a Rashban.
There is Lamek Gimel Yud Zion just straight up says that after the whole Ephraim thing,
Yeah.
he goes to Sukkot, builds a house there,
Yeah.
has livestock, makes shelters, names the place Sukkot.
Yeah.
And then after that, he goes to Shechem. He arrived in
Okay. Yeah, Michael.
If we add up the years that Yaakov worked for Lavan, that would be 21 years. And if we add up the years of Yosef's exile, which would also be his age, that'd be like 30 years. That puts Yaakov at like what, 60 when he leaves his father? That wasn't a stranger's land, was it?
No, but I'm also really bad at this chronology, and I can't.
Well, we're studying Rashi. You got it.
That's why I don't like. No, yeah. Let's take Rashi at his word for a second here, just because I'm lazy, but also because I want to make sure that we get to some of the other Mefarshim. But what answer is Rashi giving to the main question here of why does he characterize his life as you may as Shnei Migurai? What's his answer? I think it's a pshat.
He never settled down.
Yeah, is that he was always moving, right? Like compared to, let's say, Yitzchak, right, who was, at least in one place. Okay.
So that doesn't have to do with Paroh's question.
It does not have to do with Paroh's question. So Rashi's not saying why he says this, right? He's just saying what it means. Yeah, okay, that's a good thing. Okay, Lohi Sigu, I did not attain. So I think the thing that bothers people, what's bothersome about the saying that, about him saying that the years of his life had not attained the days of the years of the lives of my fathers. There's like a simple problem with that. And again, factually, he's 130 right now.
It has nothing to do with Paroh's question.
I wouldn't say it has nothing to do with Paroh's question, because Paroh is asking about that subject.
Didn't Avram live only to like 120?
165.
Yeah, I think it was 165, yeah. And Yitzchak lived to 180, I believe.
Well, they have not attained, meaning how does he like?
How does he know? Right. In other words, it's true that he hasn't reached the age of his fathers, but like he could, right? So Rashi adds a word, which is betova. They haven't attained in quality, right? Yeah, right. So this also puts a different spin. I mean, this is consistent with what he said here, which Rashi doesn't answer about why is he characterizing the days of his life as bad, okay, few and bad. So Rashi's not going to answer that, but then now we get to our midrash here on Rashi. So Vayivarach Yaakov, Kederech kol niftarim milfnei hasarim. Okay, so he's answering our question, why is he blessed him twice? He says the way that you do, that's the custom whenever you leave officers. You bless them and then you take leave or you take permission. Okay, ma bracha beracha. What blessing did he bless him with? Sheyale nilus l'raglo, that the Nile should rise to his feet. Because Egypt did not drink the rainwaters, but rather the Nile rose up and watered them. And from Yaakov's blessing and onward, Paroh ba al Nilus. Then Paroh would come to the Nile, and the Nile would come up to greet him, and it would water the land. And that's according to Rashi, from Tanchuma, but we don't have it in our Tanchuma. So they say that there was parts of Tanchuma that were lost. So whatever, it's in. Yeah. Okay. So what's problematic about this, or what is? Yeah. I mean, he's answering the question. He's answering is clear. What did he bless him? Right. But what?
The only thing I can think of is that, and this might not be pshat. I have to look further, but I know that maybe it's a Rashi later on that says that the famine ended when Yaakov got there.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So,
I was bothered. Yeah, so I was bothered by this also. If you look at the pesukim in the rest of this parak, it seems like the famine is not at all over. It's just getting started, So you could say an ein mukdam me'uchar b'Torah or whatever, but it does seem like problematic to say that from the time that Yaakov blessed him and onward, then the Nile came up to greet him. There are ways around it. Okay, you could say that it's just a hyperbole, or you could say, here's the Targum Yushalmi's version, by the way, which I'm just going to read this because I think this is going with Rashi, and I'm just using Al Torah's translation of the Targum Yushalmi. Again, quick methodology thing. What's the difference between Unclose and Yushalmi? You're a Targum guy.
I'm a Targum guy.
You're a Targum Unclose guy.
I am an Unclose guy.
Yeah.
What's the difference between you're saying Targum Yushalmi
and Unclose, or the Targum Yonasan is he's sometimes called. Yonasan Uziel.
As far as what, like methodology?
Yeah. No, not how we approach it, but how they approach Targum. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know enough about, I guess, Harvard Yirushalmi, but I know that Onkelos is very into literalisms
Right.
and very
Except about
anti-
God. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
pretty much
So,
it.
so
Like he changes words in like the pasuk when it says like he probably changes he stood him. He probably says he presented him or something.
So Onkelos is a very minimalist translator, right? So he'll translate stuff and he'll only change stuff when to make it grammatically make sense,
Yeah.
or to or if it anthropomorphizes God, then he'll decode it. And then there are other cases where he does add stuff, and it's a question of why he adds stuff.
That's always by like by either Shira or Nevuah usually.
Unless you hold by the Avram ben Aram's theory about Onkelos, that he'll sometimes throw in midrashic material, like Ben Zakunim. Yeah.
Saying,
Yeah, he's Ben Chacham. Avram ben Aram holds that Onkelos holds that that's not pshat, and that he's adding it because he thought he could add, but whatever. So the difference is that Targum Yerushalmi sprinkles liberally, he seasons heavily with midrash. Okay, and it's a different style of Targum. So what I did here is I italicized the parts that he adds in that are not translations. So watch this. And Yosef brought Yaakov his father and presented him before Paroh. And Yaakov blessed Paroh and said, "May it please the Almighty that the waters of Nilos be replenished, and may the famine pass away from the world in thy days." So first of all, this is a slightly different version than Rashi, and it gets out of the timing problem, right? He's saying, may the famine end in your days. And Paroh said to Yaakov, "How many are the days of the years of thy life?" And Yaakov answered Paroh, "The days of the years of my pilgrimage are 130 years. Few and evil have been the days of the years of my life. For in my youth I fled before Esau my brother, and sojourned in a land not my own. And now in the time of my old age I've come down to sojourn here. And my days have not reached the days of the years of the life of my fathers in the days of the pilgrimage." And Yaakov blessed Paroh, and he went out from Paroh. So that's like a sampling of how Targum Yerushalmi operates. So, but does anything bother you about this this interpretation? And let's take it as a, I don't care if it's pshat or midrash. I mean, I'm going to take it as midrash, but like, in midrash world, what is there something that's bothersome about this?
I'll be honest, I was thinking about something else at the time when you read it.
When I read the Rashi, didn't you say you read it before Shir?
Oh, I thought you meant the.
Oh, Targum Yerushalmi is the same as Rashi.
Oh, good.
He just says that he just gets rid of the timing problem because he says, "May the famine pass away from the world in thy days."
I did have a thing on that.
Yeah.
That's
Oh, okay.
What I was thinking about, and the thing is that it says at the when the brothers come down, right? That was after 2 years have passed,
Mhm.
and then it says later after the blessing, right? So after the whole thing with Yaakov and Paroh, let me check in a second. And then it says, so Yosef settled his father and his brothers, gave them a estate in the best part of the land. And then it goes on to say that he provided food for them. And then it says, V'lachem ein b'chol haaretz, right? And it goes on this whole thing of how Yosef acquired the entire land for Paroh. And it says that, and when that year ended, they came to him in the second year.
In the second year, right?
V'tito hashana hahi v'yavo elav b'shana hashenis. So
Right.
you could either say that that's Shana Hashanah with the famine, or Shana Hashanah to say been there, right? But if you say it's second year of the famine, and then it goes through this entire thing of how we impart everything except for that which was the nobleman's, the priest's land alone, and then at the end it says Vayigash Yisrael be'eretz Mitzrayim be'eretz Goshen, because of the fact that not all of it had been sold to Paroh.
Yeah.
So that could be where he's trying to like figure out the whole famine and the 2 years and when did they come and
right. Yeah. So you could rework the whole timeline, right? Yeah. And I that's why I think it's not pshat. I mean, it just is a messy pshat if it is pshat. But I'm really not concerned with the timeline here. Okay. I mean, are you not just weirded out by this bracha?
The bracha.
May the Niles come to rise to your feet. I mean, I don't like. It's just a weird like. Okay, this is another problem also, which is that what was the status of the Nile in Egypt?
Well, you think that it would have dried up. I'm pretty sure.
Oh no, sorry. I don't mean the physical status. I mean the cultural status.
Oh, it was.
It was also deified, right? It was either deified or it was viewed as an extension of Paroh's deism. That's not the way we use deism. His divinity.
Divinity,
right? Yeah, thank you. His divinity, right? Yeah. So it's just, I don't know, something is weird about the imagery of like, may the Nile come rise up to meet you and like water all the land, And so I'm trying to figure out like again, whether or not this is literal, what idea is being conveyed about the sentiment that Yaakov was, or the decision to give him this bracha. Like, you know what Paroh sounds like Paroh would have liked? May you have many years.
Right.
You know, like it sounds like he was just like eat that up. You know, yeah.
On a more surface level, Yaakov's coming in the middle of a famine.
Yeah.
Right. So,
right.
Like, is he saying that is he like I mean, I guess the Targum Yonasan or whatever.
Yeah.
That kind of answers that by saying that the famine will end in your days, and then the Nile will rise
right.
and whatever. So that kind of makes sense.
That does make sense, and that is a good
shot.
Yeah.
What Huma's saying is just seemingly this guy comes in the middle of a famine. Right?
Yeah.
And he says, May the Nile rise up. It's like, don't you know, like there was this Nebuah, whatever you want to call it, right?
Yeah.
That's not going to happen for a while at least. So what kind of bracha is that? Like, that's
right.
very time appropriate.
Yeah. Again, so I'm willing to just set aside the question of the timing.
Okay.
I just don't think that that's as big of a question, especially if you go with the Targum Yushalmi's version. Yeah. So ready for my pretending to learn Rashi?
Sure.
Okay. So what I want to say is I want to, you know how you can tell a really good or a really bad shear is if it's premises built upon its own premises, you know? So this is either gonna be really good or really bad. So I think that if we have our whole theory about Yaakov, Rashi being bothered by Yaakov blessing Paroh as a deity, okay? So I think this is avoiding a major problem that could happen, okay? So what could easily happen if when the famine ends? What metaphysical pitfall is there that might happen when the famine ends?
They go back to worshiping the Nile, or they
right? They attribute it to Paroh or to the divinity of the Nile, right? But one thing they can't see, and others like this. All of Mitzrayim knows that Yosef is involved in this project, right? You can't deny that at this point, okay? Because especially he was literally put in the administrative position. However, you could say that there is that Paroh like somehow supernaturally or mystically made it work, you know? But here's the thing is you get Yaakov who comes in, and I think it's evident from the pesukim, and especially from Yaakov's funeral, this was a whole to-do. I mean, they announced that Yosef's father and brothers came.
Yeah, everybody gets happy.
Yeah, and so this is a public event, right? Yeah. So it's possible, just knowing what I know about Yaakov, that he cared about the Derech Hashem, that by him blessing Paroh, presumably b'shem Hashem, you know, and being associated with Yosef and his family and the Derech of Avraham Avinu. So now when the Nile does rise up to meet Paroh, then people are not going to attribute it to Paroh anymore. This is an Elokei HaIvrim thing, you know?
Thinking of some other example popped briefly into my head.
Yeah.
From pshat.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost the exact opposite. But
okay.
With Abraham and the Melech Sodom, by the War of the 4 and 5 Kings, right? He's the exact opposite of this idea, but it's the same idea, just the opposite.
Interesting.
So
yeah.
Like, I don't want people to say that the Melech Sodom made me rich.
Right.
So
Correct.
The exact opposite here. I don't want people to say that it was Paroh or the Nile in and of itself that rejuvenated itself.
Yeah.
Whatever. It was
Bereishis Hashem. Yeah. It was
Bereishis Hashem that came through.
Right.
Through the Ivri.
Yeah. Now again, I don't know how to learn Rashi. Rashi doesn't say that. I don't know what Rashi wants us to do with the midrash. I mean, look, if you want to look at the raw version of the midrash, is in Lekach Tov. It says, Ma bracha bercho, amar lo yehi ratzon shi'ale nilus l'rag lecha. May it be God's will, right? Sure. That the Nile will rise up to your feet. Yeah, right. So, you know, I think I don't think it's an unreasonable theory. I just don't know if Rashi's saying it. Okay, so that's what I got for Rashi. So let's do this. Okay, I want to jump to the philosophical answers. Okay. And this is kind of a teaser for the next episode of the Stoic Jew podcast, because I saw this and I was like, this is just straight up Stoicism. I mean, Stoicism is straight up this. Mm-hmm. Okay. But so we got Shadal and Rav Hirsch, who kind of have a tag team thing. Okay. So, and I'm going to use the English of Shadal because we have an English translation. So Paroh said to Yaakov, how many are the years of your age? This is Donnie Klein's translation. And Yaakov said to Paroh, the years of my pilgrimage are 130. So he translates it as pilgrimage. Few and happy were the years of my life, and they did not. Sorry, unhappy. Few and unhappy were the years of my life, and they did not attain the years of the life of my fathers in the time of their pilgrimage. Okay, so check that. So he's going to give two interpretations. Okay, one from from himself, supplemented by Gesenius, who is this guy who he quotes a lot. I had never heard of this guy till Shadal. Wilhelm Gesenius, a German Orientalist lexicographer, Christian Hebraist, Lutheran theologian, biblical scholar, and critic. Okay, yeah, some of these professions are no longer really things you can say you're going into. Orientalist, Christian Hebraist, but yeah, Orientalist was I think in the 1700s and 1800s, people who were in Europe who were interested in Oriental culture,
Okay, cool.
right, like in Asian stuff. Yeah, yeah. So, and then the second one is a quote from his son, and I just gotta say this cool thing about his son. Okay, so he always refers to his son's book as Ohev Ger. Okay, so his son died. Okay, so apparently his son wrote a commentary on Onkelos called Ohev Ger, which I would love to get a hold of, and I'm mentioning that because you're in this year. But also, I always thought, why would he refer to his son as Ohev Ger? Because that's the book he wrote, and why is Ohev Ger appropriate for Targum? Because he was Ger, right? But then I saw, so Shadal is Shmuel David Lutato. His son is Filoseno Lutato, which is a cool sounding name. But what does Filoseno mean?
Filoseno in Hebrew?
In Italian.
Oh, that sounds
Philo means
Lover.
love, and seno or xeno or xenophobia,
Foreigners.
love of stranger,
Yeah.
right? So his name Filoseno means Ohev Ger, which is just a really cool name, right? I thought it was cool.
If that was like his given name or
Yeah, I think it was his given name, and I think he probably named his book because it was on Targum and it was his name. You know, I think that's cool. Anyway, I had to mention that. Okay, so the years of my pilgrimage, Megurai, an allusion to the immortality of the soul. Okay.
Sure.
Now he gives good evidence. For I am a stranger, a ger with you. This is David Melech. Okay, so David Melech says, and I'll just show you the actual pasuk here. This was going to be on the Stoic Jew podcast on my Geriversary episode, but the episode was too long. Ger anochi ba'aretz al taster mimena mitzvosacha. David Melech says, I am a stranger in the land. Do not hide me. Do not hide your mitzvos from me. Wait, is that the same pasuk? Or is that a different one? Maybe that's a different one. Wait. Oh yeah, oops, I quoted the wrong one. Okay, fine. So the same thing though. David Melech says I'm a ger, right? Now, why can't you take that literally? Because he wasn't a ger, right? And then also it says in Divrei Yamim, which I haven't seen this in context yet, for we are strangers before you and sojourners, as all our fathers were. Our days on the earth are as a shadow. Okay, so we are strangers before you. It sounds metaphorical, but then once he says all our fathers were and all the days on our earth are as a shadow, it sounds like that was that's a metaphor. Okay, are you looking it up in?
Yeah.
All right, yeah, I'm just gonna look it up here. Divrei Yamim 29:15. So this is David. So David Melech saying this also. Yeah. Okay, fine. Yeah. Okay. Now then Gesenius, okay, wrote in every place. What?
Who's Reggio?
Rav Reggio. Okay. Rav Reggio is the buddy / Rebbe of Shadal. Okay. Possibly gave him smicha. Shadal did not have smicha. He did not seek it. But Rav Reggio, I think, had to write him a smicha to because he wanted to appoint him at some university. I'm smiling because I gave a shiur last year, which I think I made into an NR shiur. I think I recorded it on Megillas Esther. Rav Reggio has the most radical interpretation. So there's something I call radical pshat. Okay, and I gave a shiur on this last year also, which is not censored or not NR. Radical pshat is the approach of the Rashbam and the Ibn Kaspi and Ibn Ezra, and the Mahari Kara, which is that you assume that the only things you need to know are what the text gives you. That's it. You don't go into in everything. Right. Okay. Yeah. So that's radical pshat. So what Rav Reggio does is he gives a parish on Megillas Esther. I'm just going to tease this. Maybe we could do it again this year if you're interested. That Mordechai was a fool and not a tzaddik, and Esther was a tremendous chachama, and basically she's the heroine of the story, and Mordechai is bad. And he says basically, he goes through and he gives a very systematic commentary for if you didn't walk into the story with preconceived notions about Mordecai being righteous, and you just had the text, you would conclude this.
Yeah, I've heard this idea before.
Yeah, so that's
Of course, I think he must be the one who says that. Yes, he was on the Antikas or whatever.
Yeah.
When he was like the lowest of below there.
and he was a political figure, and like that's why it says that he was only loved by some of his brethren. Yeah, okay, we're getting a couple months ahead of ourselves. All right, so Gesenius wrote, in every place this metaphor refers to the brevity of life. Okay, the metaphor of I'm a sojourner. Okay, never to the fact that a man properly a citizen of a better world is only a stranger and a sojourner on earth. Oh, sorry, did I say never? Oh, okay. In other words, yeah. In other words, it's referring to how short your life is, and saying that the soul though is immortal. In other words, your soul. Wait, I'm confused here. What does it mean? Never to the fact that man properly a citizen. Let me just look at the Hebrew. Oh, that's Sporno. Did I not copy the Hebrew? Hold on, let me look at the Hebrew.
I didn't even say that. Just says he was big in with Nephilim.
What are you looking at?
Esther.
Oh, yeah. Save it for later. You're gonna ask me, what did you say?
Yeah.
Remez l'sharas nefesh anachim ki gerim anachnu lefenecha v'toshavim kachol avosenu kitza. Oh, it's in. Oh, great. Gesenius is in whatever language this is. Latin. All right. So I can't translate the Latin. Okay, fine. All right. So that's the first idea, is that it's an allusion to the immortality of the soul, which we're going to see in a little while more. There's other supports for this. But then he says, however, according to my late son, Philostenno, these expressions do not refer to the brevity of life in this world, but to the idea that man does not control his destiny and that all is in the hands of divine providence. This is what is meant by "from I am a stranger with you," etc. God is like the master of the house, and humankind lodges with him like a sojourner. So that's a really interesting mashal, that if you are a guest in someone's house, or let's say, I think a better example is like an immigrant, which is the closest thing that we have to a ger, like, the concept of a real ger is they're totally at the mercy of everything that happens around them that they can't control, and they're totally dependent on God. And that is a very good description of Yaakov, that he had a life that was filled with troubles and like recognizing that there's a lot of stuff outside of his control. Like, his brother wants to kill him, he loses his son, all that other stuff,
He's trying to you see the bigness of divine providence and his son's idea on hashkafa. And I
don't know. I think he just means, God is determines everything else, which is what we hold, Yeah. So those are the two explanations here. So in contrast to Rashi's taking Megurah side literally, that I wandered throughout my life. He's taking it philosophically, that he's not at all talking about his wanderings. He's saying he's characterizing himself as a wanderer or a sojourner, because the soul is only a temporary dweller in this world, right? That's the brevity thing, or the idea that when you're living here, there's so many things outside your control that are only in God's control. Okay.
So he's referring to life as a pilgrim.
Yeah, exactly. Now, Hirsch takes it one step further. Okay, different idea, but one step further. So he says, for a head of state, time is an extremely precious commodity. Even today at audiences, he has time to throw out just a few short, trivial questions relating to his guests. If you've ever seen Queen Elizabeth or Princess Diana or any of these British royals, they're meet and greets. It's like a row of people, and then they go and they shake their hand and ask them one question. It's just
it's like the Rebels,
yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Rarely will a head of state show in his short questions the kind of sensitivity displayed here by Paroh. Okay, so you're gonna tell me whether you think this is I think this is a good idea. Is it a good perush of what's going on, or is it just good drash? Okay, that'll be up to you. All right. And it is even more rare for the guest to express in his brief reply the profound wisdom expressed here by Yaakov. So let's see what he says. When one counts by years, one does not reckon days. Okay, so Avi, he's going to answer your question. All right. Meaning you say, I'm this many years old or this many days, it has happened. Only a few select people value each day and see it in it a special mission. A true human being does not live years, but days.
The Gemara says he would live for a day. And he would there was a specific thing that he would work until he had enough. So he would make a transfer and say,
right.
You got $6 today.
Yeah.
He worked at $6 and that was it.
Yeah.
And apparently there was a discussion in Gemara after that about whether that was a good idea.
I don't think that that's what he means.
Well, I'm saying is in like living in the moment kind of.
Okay, right. Yeah, because that gets into issues of like the bitachon thing of like being
Yeah.
provided for. But yeah, okay, in that sense, it's the same. So he says, a true human being does not live years but days. Thus, in Moshe's prayer, in which all of history flies past as in a dream, he says, this is in Tehillim 90, Tefillah Moshe, if 1,000 years are like yesterday that has passed, then days are meaningless. That's Rav Hirsch's translation of it. Only where Torah has entered and a man's actions are intended for and dedicated to God's service does a man live days. Today he is strong, today he will act, undisturbed by what tomorrow may bring. This day is reckoned for the sake of God and will never be lost. Limnos yimenu kein hoda v'navi lavav chachma. Teach us to count our days and bring to us a heart of wisdom. We're not done with the commentary yet, but this was, again, just in case you're interested in this theme, this was the theme of today's Stoju podcast, and then the previous 2 episodes last week where I went over the, hold on just one second, the calendar experiment, which I'm currently involved in, right? So I got this calendar where I count off I had to do this initially to count off the weeks of my life, and then each week that goes off, I strike off another thing. So this was bought. I bought this explicitly or specifically to try to fulfill that pasuk in Tehillim of teach us to count our days. You know, I didn't have a day calendar, but
How many years is it?
I bought the 88-year one because that's like a average in my family, but so we'll see. Yeah, okay. Thus, Paroh 2 says here, how many days have you lived in the years of your life? So he's reading into Paroh's question, because Paroh did use that phrase, kama yemei shenei chayecha, right? As he's saying that's a weird way to ask it. So he's saying, how many days did you live in the years of your life, right? So let's see what Rav Hirsch says here. He goes on. Oh yeah, in putting his question this way, he reveals the deep impression Yaakov made upon him. In his reply, Yaakov differentiates between living and existing. You ask about the days of the years of my life. I have not lived much, but I have sojourned on earth 130 years. The days of the years that I can call my life, in which I fully accomplished my mission, were few, and they in particular were ra'im, full of bitterness and worry. I was given the mission of fulfilling, in the midst of misfortune, duties of misfortune. The substance of my life cannot be compared with the substance of the lives of my fathers. They lived more. Every day of their sojourn here on earth was living, and they were privileged to carry out their life's mission under joyful conditions. This is not complaint about the shortness of his life, but modesty in looking back at the moral worth of the life he experienced. So he's reading like a whole philosophical exchange, right? Kama yemei shnei chayecha is what Paroh asked. How many days in the years of your life did you actually live? Yaakov, yemei shnei megurai, shloshim u'ma'ashana, ma'ad v'ra'im. So the real days among the 130 years of my existence were few and bad. Sorry. Few and bad were the days of the years of my living, my actual living, So I existed for 130 years, but I only lived for a few.
Works out nicely with the Trump too.
Yes, it does. Yeah, it definitely does. And he's saying, and now he's explaining why he compares it to his fathers, because he's saying that they actually maxed out their life and lived each day as if it counted, And this is just as a side point here, that 1 second. We moved the planet. Yes. Okay. So this library is the Neil Blonde, library. Neil Blonde was a Talmud yeshiva who lived, well, his parents still live next door. And I never met him. He was a tremendous Talmud Chacham. If you want to listen to one of the best eulogies I've ever heard, listen to Rabbi Chait's eulogy of Neil Blonde, who died very young of a brain tumor. And one of the points Rebbe makes in there is he says that the Torah talks about arichos yamim, of length of days, but he says that orach yamim is not dependent on how long you lived, but it's not the quantity you live, but the quality that you live. And he said that even though Neil died, and I think he was like in his 30s, maybe early 40s, he said he had arichos yamim, so it's that idea that Rav Hirsch is saying. So I think this is a cool idea, but the question is that what was going on in this dialogue? I'll show you one more the Malbim says similarly, Yemeshne Migurai, Ratzalamar Shishnos Chaim, Mashma, Shanim Shel Tova B'Hatzlacha. Okay, so he says, hold on. Yeah, he says, this means years of good and success. Okay, so, and this is a common thing in Mishlei when it says Chaim, it doesn't mean like biological being alive. It means like I'm really living, like enjoyment. Yeah, right. Amrle Shishne Megurav Shigar Kiger Ba'aretz Hayushloshim Mashana. The years of his sojourning that he sojourned like a sojourner in the land were 130 years. V'hashanim Shahaya Bishlucha. But the years that he was cast off, like exile, I think, Hayu Muatim Gam Hayu Ra'im. They were few and they were also bad. Shlo Haya Lo Hatzlacha Gemura Af Bahem, that he didn't have any success in them, complete success. V'lo Hisigu L'Shanim Shel Hatzlacha Shaya La'avosav. He didn't have the years of success that his fathers had. B'mei Megurehem B'Chevel, in their sojourning. I don't know what Chevel means here. Uvedrushe Aratzos Hashalom Pirashti. I don't know. This must be another book he wrote. He says, I explained. Kishnos Chaim Lo Yitztiku Rak Al Hashanim She'ovid Behem Es Hashem Shehem Chaye Ha'adam. So when he says the years of living, that phrase is only correctly applied to the years in which you served Hashem during the lifespan. Lo Al Hashanim Shechai Chaye HaHergesh Levad. Not the days that you merely lived a life of sense, right? Of like feeling. Shu Chai Habhema, that's animalistic life. Shanim Ele Lo Nikru Shenos Chaim Kibam Chai Chelet Haba Mishalo. You don't call those years of living because that's only the animalistic component in you lives then. Val Ha'adam Shu Chelet Hasichli V'Hanafshi Shalo Hayakames. But during those years where you're just living like an animal, your rational soul is like it's dead. V'nuchal Likara Am B'Shem Shnei Migurai, and you can call them by the name years of my sojourning, Shabam Gar B'Tevel Artzah, because those are the years that your soul is dwelling temporarily on earth. Lo B'Shem Shenos Chaim, not years of life. Uvasher Paroh Lefi Habanaso Kara Kol Hashanim Sheis Halach Adam Al Ha'adama B'Shem Shenos Chaim. Since Paroh called all the years that a person is on earth, years of life, Amrle Yaakov said to him, Shlo Diak B'Dvarav. He's saying you're not being precise in your words. Sh'im Tish'aleni Al Yemei Shnei Migurai Uchal Hashiv L'cha Shahaya Shloshim L'Mashana. He's saying, if you ask me about the years of my dwelling, my sojourning, I would say 130. Well, Im Tish'aleni Al Shnei Chayai, but if you ask me about the years of my living, Da Ki Me'ad V'Ra'im Hayu Yemei Shnei Chayai. You should know that they were very few and bad. Ratzalomer Hashanim Shahisi Chayim Hanafshim Shem Mechaye Ha'adam. The years that I lived a true human life of Lohisigu were few. Velohisigu etimeshnei chaye avosai b'mei migurahem shem hirbu yoser hayam shi avdu behem es Hashem v'kanu shleimus hanafshi. They lived many more years where they got perfection. So that's the same as Rav Hirsch. Yeah. So the question is like, how plausible is this as a reading? You know, in classic Malbim and Rav Hirsch fashion, they're medactic on every word. So they got that going for them. But like, is this really what the dialogue was, or is this just like homiletics that are nice ideas?
I say yes.
You say yes. Okay, that's acceptable. That is both. Yeah.
I think that they are being medactic on where the verse uses chai, and then they're just elaborating, and it's fair because it's
definitely fair.
And I think the Rav Hirsch is particularly good because he's highlighting that in an encounter with the king, it really is just like one nonchalant question that you have to respond to. And what this then illustrates is that a chacham can take that moment and present a bit of a beautiful idea about the distinction between Migurei.
Okay. That contextualizing makes it more plausible. That's true, right? That given the fact that this is a very like not high stakes, that's the wrong word, but you know, like there's got to be a word for this. Momentous formal like encounter here, you know, we only have an exchange of a few words, then this does show a remarkable sensitivity on Yaakov's part to Paroh, you know, and if this is successful and doesn't make Paroh angry, then like, you know, then it'll teach Paroh a good idea. But the thing that makes me question this also is, you know, none of the other Rishonim, with the possible exception of Rabbeinu Bachya ben Asher, possible exception, he's not didactic on the words. I think he says the ger thing. They don't really care about the wording that is used, which is interesting. And whenever I see like a big, you know, divide like that, to me, it's like indicative of, I don't know, two different approaches. Abravanel doesn't either. No. Yeah, you want to see? Yeah. Okay, here's what the Abravanel says. So Abravanel has a good reading of Paroh's question, and his reading is it's not a question. Okay. V'achrei sheParo heitiv lasos im achei Yosef kol zeh. After Paro benefited, or since Paro benefited Yaakov's brothers with all this, Hevi Yosef es, no, I think it's after. Hevi Yosef es avi ve'amidehu lifnei Paro. He brought his brothers and stood them before Paro. To bow down to him and to bless him. Amnam, Amru, however, Amaro, his statement, Kama yimei shnei chayacha, Eino it's etzli she'elas kama hayazman misparam. It's not a question of what is the quantity of their time. About who kematmia mihaflagas zikenuso v'yeshishuso. It's an expression of astonishment at the old age and the hoardiness of him. Is it a Rashi that I missed?
I mean, I know that. I think that's Rashi.
V'zehu kama yimei shnei chayacha klomer kama him rabim batunim. In other words, it's
Right.
how many are your years?
It's like astounding.
Yeah, right. Yeah. V'humi lashon kama lo tisha mimeni. It's a pasuk from Iyov that we don't know. But it's like when you say like ma rabu ma'asecha Hashem.
Like how big your eyes are.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right, exactly. Yes, it's a question word being used as an exclamation. So he was basically astonished at his appearance. Saying my old appearance of white hair is not due to having lived a long time. Because of all the trouble that I experienced.
That I'm familiar with them.
Yeah.
It's not a Rashi.
Okay, yeah. Ki yemei megurai v'tzarosai v'hiyosi nav v'nad ba'aretz mizan el zan enam ela kuf lamed shana aval hayu ma'atim v'raim mim she'avosai hayu garim gam kain hine shenosai lo higiu b'tova mima shehigiu shenoseim fine. So that's answering that everyone else answers, which is that I had a really troublesome life. Now, transitioning to pshat here, okay, a lot of them say that Paro was either asking about or astonished about his appearance. Okay, so Rav Yosef Bechor Shor says, so he saw this old guy. He thought he had a lot of years. Yaakov said to him, So if you ever see like the presidents before and after, right, then he prematurely aged. Okay, but here's an interesting one. This is an interesting one that the Ramban says. So he says, Lo yidati tam hazakin avinu ki ma musar hu shi is onin el hamelach ma tam limor lo hisigos yimei shnei chayai avosai ki ulai od yasigim v'yechia yoser mehem. So he asks our questions basically. Why did he seemingly complain about his life, and like what does he mean when he says I didn't reach the years of my fathers? Maybe he'll get there. So veneerly, it seems to me. So Yaakov was stricken with old age. He appeared to be very old. Now, he says the people in Paro's time did not live very long because their years were already cut short. Now, I assume he means like cut short from how it was like before the flood. But out of curiosity, I did very, very superficial internet research on what was the average lifespan in ancient Egypt. Now, the problem is ancient Egypt covers periods of thousands of years, but ancient Egypt is also like the same, in terms of like the climate and stuff, and for many of those years. So I don't know how much it really matters. So what would you guess, like average age back then?
Well,
and remember, Egypt is a place that was reliably like dependent on, like it was they didn't they had like regular irrigation and stuff,
Well, I think there's an idea of like the like this gets into the whole other thing, but there's an idea of like the Apis bull, which was like every 100 years or something like that.
Yeah.
There was a new one, and therefore you can like get how long or how many pharaohs there were.
Yeah.
I think that it's every 100 years or something like that. So I would maybe base something off of that. I don't know. I mean,
you could do that.
Sure.
And we happen to have.
Well, I guess like an ancient time. I don't know.
Okay, well, I'll show you. I googled it, but so you have here. I had a bunch of things. Okay, so wait, where's the least professional looking one? So people in Egypt did not grow very old. very high infant death rates due to high risk of infections resulted in an average age death of 19 years. However, those who survived childhood had a life expectancy of 30 years for women and 34 years for men. Most ancient Egyptians were unlikely to live beyond 40 years. And for example, King Tutankhamun died at the age of about 18 years. I thought that was due to some.
He was like inbred.
Yeah, that was right.
Yeah.
So this was not good. But then this other thing said,
Still really young then.
so this is from the Roman Egypt. So this is, we're talking in the New Kingdom, like at the end of Egypt, defined the average life expectancy for males at 22 and a half to 25 years and females 35 to 37 years. A person in his mid-30s was considered an old person in ancient Egypt. This Quora article says 58 for women and 54 for men. Wait, there was one more. Oh no, that's a different thing. Yeah, fine. So I don't know how long it was, but you got to imagine in the ancient world that 130 is pretty old, right? Yeah. So it sounds like Paroh was just astonished of like how old Yaakov is. And then it says, Az ana Yaakov kol yemei shana yamav shloshim u'ma'a shana v'al yitma bahem ki me'ad heim keneged shenos avosai shechayu yoser. He's saying, don't be astonished because my father's lived a longer time. He doesn't explain why Paroh asked it. I mean, he doesn't explain why the story is written, So, and it still is weird. Because I want to end shir soon. This is not a shir, but you want to hear two wacky midrashim?
Yes.
Okay. So wacky midrash number 1 is brought down by the קיצור פענח Raza. No. The zקנים Bali Tosfos. Okay. Midrash. Ready? Yeah. Okay. Bisha she'amar Yaakov ma'at v'raim hayu. When Yaakov said, my days were few and bad, Amar lo HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God said to him, Ani matilcha me'esav u'milavan. I took you, I redeemed you from Esav and Lavan, v'hechazarti lecha Dina, and I returned Dina to you, Gam Yosef, and also Yosef. Yata misraim al chayecha. You are complaining about your life. Shehim ma'at v'raim, that they're few, your days are few and bad. Chayecha, by your life, chayecha, yeah. Wait. Okay. Shehim ma'at v'ra'im. Yeah, I think chayecha here is an expression of swearing. He swears by your, like I swear by your life. Sheminyan hatevos sheyesh min vayomer ad bimei migurai kach yechasru mishnosacha. So he says, I'm going to take the number of words from the beginning of the dialogue to the end, which, thank you to Microsoft Word count, is 32, and it says 31 because it's counting El Yaakov. So let's just fix this here. El Yaakov, and that, and then if you don't include the letter Tet, let's see if it works out. Is there one more I'm missing? Oh, wait, yeah. If you take out the letter Tet, right? So it's 33 words, right? So he says, I'm going to take the 33 words from this dialogue, and what am I going to do is I'm going to subtract it from your life total. Shalot tichye kachaya Yitzchak avicha v'him lama gimel tevos u'v'minyan zeh nechzeru mechayav shar Yitzchak chai kuf peshana Yaakov lo chai ela kuf mem zayin. Right? So this is not like reverse. Reverse took it as like a positive thing. So the midrash is basically saying, oh, it's a punishment, and this was a bad thing that Yaakov did. Right?
Yes.
So the question is, what's the idea of the midrash? And is this a midrash that is illuminating pshat, or is this a midrash that is teaching us some unrelated idea? What do you say? The argument you have going for you that are teaching pshat is, or it's illuminating pshat, is the fact that the Torah bothers to record the dialogue.
Well, and the whole thing starts off with pshat.
Yeah, but I think that's just because he brings on pshat and drash. I don't think they're related.
Oh, so you want to know if the drash is going to explain the pshat?
If it sheds light on pshat in any way. I mean, I could read what he says for pshat. I think this is the same. Pshat lefisha ra'ahu zakin b'siros avlosha v'zigna levanos meirov v'zigna shal kain v'hu anehu yemei migrai shlosh ma'ashana ma'ad v'ra'im klomer ma'atim heim shnosai ela mitoch ra'os shayali kapta zigna. Same as Ravan. Yeah, Michael.
It's kind of hard to say that counting up the words in a verse is pshat.
No, I'm not saying that. Sorry, let me clarify here. I'm not saying it is pshat. I'm saying, is this in the genre of midrash that sheds light on a pshat idea, or is this the midrash that has absolutely nothing to do with pshat and is just using the words as a springboard for some unrelated idea?
Well, I mean, the one thing I see as valuable about this is that it does actually interpret saying my days have been short and bad as bad, because it does sound like he's whining or
It
complaining.
does sound like he's whining, right? It's picking up on the tone, right? The tone is definitely not a positive tone.
Right.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Pshat, I don't know whether or not this is a good thing that he's saying. I think pshat is that it's good.
I think
that's
pshat
how
is
everyone
good
else seems
also.
to read it.
Right, and you don't see any indication in the pesukim that he was. I mean, unless you can argue that this is the indication that he lived shorter than Yitzchak, but yeah, I think that's a far cry. So
Right, but that's like a classic midrash thing. Like, oh, he should have been this old. Why? 'Cause
Right,
I say
yeah.
so. Minus the 33 words of the verse. Well, that works nicely, so
Right.
I'll remember it anyway.
right, what about Yosef?
About Yosef, that because he allowed the brothers to call his father Avdecha
Yeah.
7 times, he lost 7 years.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Yeah, that is a genre. Yeah, right. So I'll tell you what I think. What I think this is the idea is here. Okay, so I think this is in the genre of midrashim that are teaching you ethical behavior that has nothing to do with actual pshat. And I think the moral of the story is if you have a negative outlook on your life and you complain about it, you will actually shorten your lifespan. Okay. And this is something that I've read about this elsewhere. I only did superficial internet research here, but I think there are studies on this. So here's this is an article I read that linked to an actual study that you can like look at. I did not read the study, but this is like an actual Harvard study. But it says according to a brand new Harvard study that lasted more than 8 years and involved some 70,000 women who were glass half empty types, aka complainers, lived an average of 5 years less than their glass half full counterparts. And it goes on to explain that there are
yeah, I guess that makes sense. That next part makes sense. The complaining set, they're less likely to make physical health, like diet. So that I guess that would.
But so it's that, but it's also what Mishlei would say about it is complaining causes you anguish and pain, and the stress and negativity can actually take a physical toll on you, and on the converse, there have been other studies shown. I think I wrote a thing on this, or I gave a podcast on this, that Rabbi Jonathan Sachs quoted this another large study with nuns. I think they call it was by the guy who founded positive psychology. It was a study about nuns who had gratitude journals, who expressed gratitude in their journals, and tracked people who had an expression of gratitude for better health and longer lives, So, and this is something I'm not projecting modern things back on this. There are psukim and mishlei about how your psyche affects your if you're sad or angry or whatever, then that's going to actually affect your physical health. Like Shlomo Melech was aware of that, So
well, he had the book of Refuah.
That's another midrash, yeah. So I think that would be a lesson here. That again, not that Yaakov actually complained, but if you are viewing your life as bad and your years as few, you're going to make it bad and few, and that's what I call mishlei mida keneged mida, is that the person who approaches something in mishlei foolishly will get the exact thing that he wants to avoid, or the exact thing that he deserves.
And I think even more so than that is interesting that the midrash goes so far to say not only that why are you complaining, but you got the good. Good happens.
Right, that's true. Right,
you're not looking
right. That is correct.
That.
So it is explicitly highlighting the lack of gratitude. Right. Yeah. Look at all the stuff I did for you, and you're saying it's bad. Yeah. Right. So I think that's that, and then I'll just show you one more midrash which I don't have an idea on. I just thought I thought it was funny. So it's brought down by the קיצור פענח Raza, who's some 16th century Achron, but I saw it recently in the Lekach Tov. Let me just see the Lekach Tov version first. I think that was a cleaner version. Oh, okay, never mind. Hold on a second. No. That's a weirder version. Okay, so let's read this one first. Okay, do you see it?
No.
Okay. So Shaluk al Kach mipnei sheParoh bebacharuso haya mizgadol bebeis Avimelech. Okay, so he's asking this because Paroh, when he was young, grew up in the house of Avimelech. Why? Kederach hamalachim lishloach b'nehem elu le'elu ligadol b'derech eretz umusar v'chachma. because it was the custom of kings to send their offspring to be raised in each other's houses for the purposes of derech eretz, musar, and chachma. Okay, like lahavdil, Kim Jong-il sent Kim Jong-un to be educated in Europe, you know, because you can't, you know, not gonna have good exposure to like stuff in North Korea. You know, got to go out and see the real world. Visham Ra is Yitzchak, and there he saw Yitzchak when he was in the house of Avimelech. V'savar shezehu, and he thought that this guy, this old guy, is Yitzchak. V'tama alav, and he was astounded by him shadayin hu chai, that he was still alive. V'shalu kama yimei of Gomer. Okay, and then this is what I was shocked by this lekach tov. Ma ra'a Paroh lishol Yaakov kama yimei shnei chayacha. What did he see to ask him this? Fishaya ikunin shel Yaakov Avinu dome la'Avraham Avinu ukasavar hayashu Avraham. I don't know what ikunin means. Probably his like face or his, you know, he thought he was Avraham. So like, what's up with that? And I didn't find anyone who explained this.
How do you fit that in the pesukim?
Well, they're positing this about like, why is he asking like, how old are you, right? So plain pshat is he appeared old, but like if you, okay, here's the bad analogy here, you know, have you ever seen like, I've had this experience because with high schoolers. So some people have siblings of the same gender who look very similar, right? Yeah. And then like, I'll have a student who graduated and then I'll see, let's say like a sibling of theirs, and I'll be like, did you just like age? I won't say it, but like, did you just age a tremendous amount? And then I'll figure out, no, it's just an older sibling who looks very similar, you know, like something like that going on, you know?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
This, I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
also you think that like, you know, in the context of the pesukim before this, you know,
Yeah.
Yosef would be like, hey, my father and my family and my grandfather, everyone's coming, not just like, why we, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Right. Doesn't finish the shot, right? He would announce him. I mean, didn't he announce him as his father? Like,
Well, that's the thing is that he doesn't. See, he says he
right, not in the actual pesukim, that's true. Right.
He just brought him to him.
But did it not say when they arrived earlier that am I imagining this?
Oh no, I think you're right.
Yeah, he says in beginning 47. Vayavu Yosef, vayagid leFaro vayomer aviv va'achai betzonam v'koram v'kosher lehem ba'u be'eretz Canaan. Not aviv or whatever.
You
Yeah.
can say the classic like you know, grandpa's like father. And,
Oh yeah. I mean, so maybe Paroh in this framework thought that his father was Yitzchak. Oh, sorry. That Yosef's father was Yitzchak. Yeah. All right. I don't know what to make of that, but hopefully this was food for thought here. Scattered ideas, and yeah, that was our exploration for today. If you think of anything, you know, between now and the parsha, let me and Shabbos, let me know. Alrighty, have a good night. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.